Okay, subtracting variable numbers is very similar to adding them. Let's say we subtract 3 twice, okay? Now remember, when you're subtracting something, like if you have a negative 3, it's kind of the same as 0 minus 3. Remember, basically, all mathematics, the base point is 0. Everything fluctuates from that 0. So minus 3 is the same as 0 minus 3. So anyway, when you're subtracting 3 twice, when you subtract it twice, it's the same as multiplying negative 3 times 2, which gives you negative 6. But anyways, the point is that actually ultimately becomes negative 2 times 3. We've talked about the fact before, when you multiply by a negative, you can move the negative out front. So minus 3 becomes negative 2 times 3, which again gives you negative 6 in case you want to check your work. Okay, minus 4 is just 2 times negative 4. Again, we can move the negative out front, and that becomes negative 2 times 4. We're going to start to see a pattern. Minus 7, then that's 2 times negative 7, which becomes negative 2 times negative 7. I'm sorry, that should be negative 2 times positive 7. So let's erase that negative sign. That should be negative 14, right? So that stays positive just like the ones before. Sorry about that. So minus 7 is negative 2 times 7. So let's clear that up. Okay. In general, if you have minus a, so minus 9 or minus 10 or whatever, that becomes 2 times negative a. The negative moves up front and becomes negative 2 times a. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Let's go on to 3 numbers. Minus 6 becomes 3 times negative 6. Move the negative out front, and that becomes negative 3 times 6. So the number of times that you subtracted it comes out front. The negative starts in the very front, and then finally the number itself goes on the end. That also works for fractions. Negative 1/2 minus 1/2 minus 1/2 becomes negative 3 times 1/2. Negative 2.7 minus 2.7 minus 2.7, subtracting it 3 times, becomes negative 3 times 2.7. In general, if you subtract a number 3 times, it becomes negative 3 times a being any number. Okay, negative 10 minus 10, or just say minus 10 minus 10 minus 10 minus 10, becomes negative 4 times 10. If you subtract 1 4 times, it becomes negative 4 times 1 because there's 4 of them. If you subtract 7 4 times, it becomes negative 4 times 7. And if you subtract a 4 times, it becomes negative 4a because you subtracted it 4 times. So what are we ultimately getting at? Well, if you subtract a 5 times, it becomes negative 5a. 6 times, it becomes negative 6a. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Subtract a n number of times, just like we talked about adding variable numbers. Notice that the number of times we subtracted goes right here, right? So, and then the negative goes out front. So therefore, the number of times we subtract, if we subtract it 100 times, that number goes here, and the negative goes out front. Just like in all the other ones, the negative goes out front. So that's it. If you subtract a number, any number, 27, 4, 109, even a negative number like negative 3 or a decimal 4.8, it goes right here, and then so if we're subtracting 4.8, it goes right here. The number of times we subtract it, which we could subtract something 4.8 times, that'd be a little weird, but we could do that. And then finally, the negative goes out front. So it's real simple. Let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. Again, the name of this lesson is Subtracting Variable Numbers. And here's just a simple one. Minus a gives you negative 2a. But again, the number of times you subtract it goes here, and the negative goes out front, and the number you're subtracting goes here. So negative na. Okay, first example, we have minus x minus x minus x. So my question is, how many times did we subtract it? 3, right? So whenever we're going to have a 3 in it, we know the negative is going to go out front because it's being subtracted. And what are we subtracting? We're subtracting the x. So therefore the answer is negative 3x. Okay, now we have minus y, minus y, minus y, minus y, minus y. We subtracted y 5 times, so negative is going to go out front, followed by the number of times we subtracted, which is 5, followed by what we subtracted, which is y. Final answer, negative 5y. Now even if we have an expression like xy, we're still subtracting it twice. So we're subtracting it, so we know the negative is going to go out front. We subtracted it twice, so it goes next. And what are we subtracting? We're subtracting xy. Even if it was xy plus z, it would still be negative 2 times xy plus z. No matter how complicated the expression is, that's what goes on the end. In this case, it's xy. So therefore, final answer, negative 2xy. Okay, we're subtracting 4 police cars. I know a lot of people would be happy about that. Some people don't like cops. Anyways, if we subtract them 4 times, when the negative goes out front, we have a 4, because we subtracted it 4 times, followed by the police car, which I'm not going to attempt to draw. I'll just show you here. Therefore, the final answer is we subtracted 4 police cars. That's it. Multiple subtraction is also, you can also write that kind of as a negative multiplication problem. It's that simple. So name this lesson is subtract variables, and if you subtract a variable n number of times, then you simply write it as minus na. And again, another way of thinking about multiple subtraction is if you just keep taking money away from somebody. So if I took 4 $10 bills away from somebody, that would be the same as negative 4 times 10, which is negative 40. It would be negative $40 out of money. So subtracting variables is easy. Put the minus out front, followed by the number of times you subtract it, followed by the number that you're subtracting. That's it.